you never know when you're going to meet somebody who's going to change the trajectory of your career.
I agree 1000%. And it's something that had I known sooner, I definitely think I would be further in my career, but I'm so glad I learned it when I did. I am in a growth stage in the business. Sometimes I have to turn down projects because I don't have the bandwidth to do it. And that is not ideal for a brand like me. When I'm working on a custom project or designing a new piece, whatever my final sketch, when I put that pencil down is, I leave it as that. I don't go back and say, well, maybe if it was, I don't second guess my work. Trust your instincts because that's what's guiding you. Whatever I trust to be the right direction, that is correct. And I don't have to validate it in any way.
Today, we are with Malyia McNaughton. She's the CEO and designer of Made by Malyia Jewelry. Shortly after launching her jewelry line, she gained attention by major publications and summer festivals. She's been featured in Vogue, HuffPost, Essence, to name a few. She's the co-founder and treasurer of Black and Jewelry Coalition. She's on the board of JVC. She is also a lifestyle model working with state management. And her passion for many years has been volunteering with inner city high school students, teaching various art forms. Thank you for joining me today, Malyia.
Thank you so much for having me.
So Malyia, I would like to know, what was the best business decision you made in 2022 and why?
I would say the best business decision that I made in 2022 was automating systems in my business. Prior to 2022, I had a lot of information stored in my own memory bank in the cloud. And in 2022, I realized that if I wanted to scale my brand, that I had to be intentional about creating scalable systems and being able to implement things that other people could take over in my absence if I was out sick or needed to take a few days off to design. And my virtual assistants, my executive assistants, they helped me to implement those systems. And it's been a game changer for me as a independent designer and as a designer that plans on growing. So I would say that's the best decision I've made to date.
So I'm curious to know, did you find that implementing these systems made you more efficient and or give you the ability to maybe cut a position or some sort of task that you're handing out to other people?
It definitely helped me be more efficient. I previously didn't really understand how implementing the systems would make me more efficient because I thought it would slow me down. I thought it would take me off track of what I was trying to do. But after really sitting down and looking at where I wanted to take the brand, I knew that I couldn't keep storing the information myself or having to direct people on where to find this information that I wanted them to work on. And so I noticed that it did make me more efficient because instead of creating these long to-do lists, I could delegate more effectively. And my team has been very appreciative of the system. It makes the workload more manageable for everyone involved, myself included. I don't have to think I have to do everything on my own. So it's made me a better business owner, it's made me a better leader. And I'm so glad that I took the time to do it. It wasn't easy, but I'm glad I did it.
So what are some of the programs that you've implemented and why?
So I've used, and they're not sponsoring me, but they should, but I've used from Asana to Trello, to name a few, and I've just been great at really figuring out the one that works best for my workflow, and deciding which one I could really use and stick with, because that was the biggest thing when I bounced between a few of them, was just figuring out what system is the easiest for me to implement and to continue to use on a regular basis that won't create another task for me to do. It won't feel like another task. It'll feel like a supplement and an addition, not like a system that just takes me too long to understand. And so I've been fortunate that I've been able to play with a few of them and kind of get familiar, and they finally stuck. So I'm happy with having those systems implemented.
Great, wonderful. So my next question for you is, what are your goals and or business strategy for 2023, now that we're well into the winter and moving into spring now?
Oh my goodness, this year has already felt like it's flown by. I've already, have pretty much the whole year planned out and going into 2024. But some of the ways that I'm planning out the next couple of months for the business strategy is I'm focusing more on custom work, because that's an area of the business that I see the most growth potential. I've had a lot of organic growth in that way, by referrals and just continuing to kind of get my brand out there. And with exposure, people have come to me to make things for them. And that's kind of authentic to how my brand started. Originally was I kind of allowed my jewels, as I like to call them, to kind of decide what they wanted me to design next. So custom makes the most sense for me to work on as a business strategy and as a plan. So I'm working on custom and bridal and really building that part of the business out. That takes a little bit more time to customize because it's a one-to-one experience. I really want to create that experience for my clients. And so I've been just working on what that looks like. I recently did a custom project for a lovely couple that is based in Texas, and they flew to New York to pick up the ring. It was a tanzanite that I bezel set with a pear-shaped diamond, and it was a stunning, end product. But what I made sure to do was to increase the experience. So I added some gifts with purchase, which included a travel gift box for the wife. And I included some luggage tags that were engraved with their initials, and passport and document holders. So that's one of the business strategies that I'm focused on, is really creating that one-to-one experience, as well as just growing the other pillars of my business, which include wholesale and direct to consumer.
And do you find that doing more of the custom work is more rewarding from an artistic perspective?
Absolutely. It's a lot more rewarding because it pays tribute to why I started the brand, which is, my desire to find something unique. And so if I can provide that for clients on a regular basis, that really is the reason why I do what I do. And it really just lends itself to me being able to create an authentic experience and a one-to-one design. So each client that I work with is getting a unique design that sometimes I love so much that I want one for myself. But it really allows them to have something that's special and unique to their story. I really take whatever they tell me and I reinterpret it into a piece that they can wear forever. So I feel like that's my unique brand proposition, is that I'm able to artistically express whatever the client has expressed to me.
One thing that I love about this story is that you're focusing on the experience and the client and making sure that you're giving them that little bit of extra something that makes purchasing from you an advantage over somebody else. One thing that I want to know is, how did you decide that those were the things that you were going to get for that couple? Had you spent a lot of time talking to them? What is that thought process?
Oh, that's a great question. So I had been in talks with this particular couple for quite some time. The husband, who was just a pleasure to work with, really wanted this project to be perfect for his wife, and rightfully so. And I take it as seriously as he did. And so after speaking with him and kind of learning more about their journey as a couple, and him wanting to express that through this piece of jewelry, which, we know that's the beautiful part about jewelry, is that it can create these memories and these stories. And so I knew that I wanted an extension of that to be provided. It was also his wife's birthday. So they were coming to New York to go to shows and to celebrate her birthday. And because they were flying to New York, I'm like, they're probably a traveling couple. So let me get them a gift that would allow them to travel with more ease, but also be a memento of their experience working with me. And so I immediately thought of the travel case with her name on it. And I made it in the same color of the Tanzanite so that it could, work as a ability for her to carry that piece. But I also made a replica of ring. She works in the medical field, and I wanted her to feel safe while working. And so I created a replica ring that she could wear safely around when she's working. So I really take that part of what I do seriously. And that's why working custom allows me to do that. And because I don't have a storefront yet, but I've been able to partner with fantastic retail partners like Granite Street Jewelers. They allowed me to bring the clients into the store, which was a central meeting location because my studio is based in Brooklyn. They were visiting from out of town and they were only here for a short period of time. So instead of them having to make the journey to Brooklyn, I asked Granite Street if they could, provide a space for me to show them the piece and allow them to see the additional pieces I have in the store. And they were so kind to extend that to us. And so that added another experience because now they get to have the connection with Granite Street Jewelers as well as myself. So it's this great marriage. And I was so happy that I was able to bring it together for them.
I would call that the boomerang effect.
Yeah.
So you have a customer, you've created experience, you have made a custom ring, you've even figured out what gifts you want to give this customer. And you have that customer for life and they're going to come back to you for other things. That because you've given them the travel jewelry case, the tags, every time they look at that, they're going to think Malyia gave that to me.
Yes.
And they're going to come back to you again and again.
Yes.
I think customer service is such a huge portion of any experience in any retail business, but especially in jewelry because jewelry is just so personal to the person.
Absolutely. I would agree with that. And that's why it's important to create that experience every chance I get.
Hi, El Hill here. Do you want to learn how to get on the phone with any buyer that you want to work with without an introduction or a referral? Click to get them downloadable that we've made for you that you can start using right away and will be really useful for your business and growing your revenue.
Malyia, you are the co-founder and board member for Black in Jewelry Coalition. Can you please tell me how you became involved with this organization?
So in 2020, there was a huge outpouring from the industry, not just the jewelry industry, but industries across the board, looking for ways that they could support the Black community and BIPOC community. And so myself and 8 other jewelry professionals that I had not known previously, we came together on what was essentially a Zoom call because we were also in the pandemic, and we brainstormed on ideas and ways that we could support this change in the industry from within and from our own experiences, that our shared experiences. And so this was during the unfortunate passing of George Floyd and the protests that occurred in New York. And so we really wanted to come up with a strategy on how, when we're being asked to join these Zoom calls and these other calls, how we can create tangible ideas and strategies on how the industry can support those efforts. And so what started out as conversation built into us forming a formal organization. And from that, we've been able to, over the past 2 years, provide scholarships with the support of GIA to students that wanted to attend and attain their GGs. We've been able to do competitions that allow jewelers to design custom pieces for loving couples through our Together by Design competition. And we continue to build and grow based off the needs that we've identified in the industry. There are so many, and it's hard for 9 professionals that work full-time on either their brands or with organizations in this industry to come together weekly. We meet for 2 hours on every Thursday. We've been meeting every Thursday for the last 2.5 years. And it's just been such a pleasure to be a part of. Everyone on the board is really passionate about what they do. We each bring something so unique to the board. And then we have our board of advisors that are comprised of so many professional organizations and industry professionals that also lend their support. And whenever they see an opportunity that can advance what we're doing and help others in the industry, they're always plugging us in. And so we're grateful for that. And so we just continue to explore ways that we can come together with our allies in this industry and just make it better. I mean, I think about myself and I think about the fact that had I not had support to get my brand out there, that would have been a loss for the industry because I bring such a unique perspective and a unique take on fine jewelry that that's what the industry needs. And that's the hope that we hope to provide with BIJC is creating an avenue for diverse talent to be able to shine. And so I'm just happy to be a part of that initiative.
Okay. You are very present on social media, specifically Instagram. How do you create interesting content and keep up with it, remaining present and visible all the time?
Oh man, it is a constant work in progress to remain active on social media. I'm sure you know this. And it's just a work in progress. I've figured out what works best for my brand and what works best for my audience as I continue to want to grow brand awareness, which is my biggest angle with social media, is really just continuing to build brand awareness so that I can continue to find new customers and just have customers discover our brand. And it's been a combination of testing new methods, testing new ideas out and seeing what sticks. It's been a lot of trial and error. And I have noticed that over the last year, my social media has received a lot more traction, which has been a wonderful thing because it's just brought a whole new audience to the content that I continue to push out. And I'm exploring new platforms. It's definitely its own part of the business that I continue to work on, but it definitely has been a positive for the brand.
What's one piece of advice you would give somebody who is starting their career as a jewelry designer?
I would recommend that you start where you are. A lot of times I know from my experience that it can be intimidating trying to be everywhere all the time and do all the things that it requires to break into this industry. But what I've found to be most important is to start where you are and let people know what you're working on and what your goals are for your career. And oddly enough, those pieces will come together. I know it sounds super cliche, but I've seen it happen for myself. Networking is extremely important. And it's something that I didn't do early on in my career because I just had my head down and I worked really hard. And hard work is not to be understated, but in addition to hard work, you have to make sure that you connect with those that are in your industry. So join organizations that relate to whatever you're trying to do and spread the word that way. There's a lot of information in joining community and you can learn a lot from doing so. So I would recommend joining, associations in the jewelry industry so you can kind of get a feel for what's happening so that you are geared up for the information and can have the best possible outcome.
I would say that is a very, very key element, being in the community. Meeting people and making those connections are so valuable in the jewelry industry, regardless of if you want to start your own business as a jewelry designer or you want to enter into the corporate jewelry world, right, or anything in the jewelry or gemstone or diamond industry businesses. You have to be involved in other organizations in order to grow who you are and make your I call it the tentacles of an octopus, and get yourself out there to meet more people. You never know when you're going to meet somebody who's going to change the trajectory of your career.
Correct. I agree 1000%. And it's something that had I known sooner, I definitely think I would be further in my career, but I'm so glad I learned it when I did, because I've been able to connect with so many amazing people, including yourself. So it's been a really phenomenal journey.
Wonderful. What experiences or lessons from your past work would you say has been surprisingly helpful in informing what you do now?
I would say the lessons that have informed what I do now is trusting my instincts and my intuition. I think I underestimated how important it was for me to know that what I truly believe is the right direction for me at that time is the absolute right answer and this correct answer. I think that earlier on, I had inclinations that I was on the right path, but I didn't really lean into it as much as I do now. Now, when I'm working on a custom project or designing a new piece, whatever my final sketch, when I put that pencil down is, I leave it as that. I don't go back and say, well, maybe if it was, I don't second guess my work. And I think that that's very important to me as a designer and as a growing entrepreneur, is that you trust your instincts, because that's what's guiding you. And that's kind of in the background all the time with me, is to know that whatever I trust to be the right direction, that is correct. And I don't have to validate it in any way. Just stick with it and see how it plays out.
That is a great answer. So Malyia, I love many pieces in your collection. However, one of my favorite pieces are the earrings that you're wearing today. Can you explain a little bit about the design, what inspired you to come up with it, and your process of going through that from the initial design or thought or idea to the finished product?
So when I started the collection 2014, but launched in 2015, I knew I wanted to eventually design a hoop, and I wanted it to be a statement piece. I had a friend who was a stylist in the industry, and he said to me, he said, Malyia, you would do so well as a jewelry designer if you had a piece that could be your signature and that could be seen by everyone, whether it be a pendant, a ring, or an earring. And so I went back with that information. And at the time, I only had dainty necklaces and some semi-permanent jewelry. And I started out on this idea to create an earring that would encompass the phases of the moon, as well as the constellations, and kind of showing the progression, and hence the name. But it showed the progression of an idea from a very small place to somewhere, finishing out at the larger disc. And so it started out with many iterations. It took about 3 years to perfect and engineer it, because it is so different and it needed to be so many things, which is high polished. And that's pretty hard to achieve on a piece of this size. But I wanted the piece to mirror back to the wearer that they are as bright as the sun, and they are as reflective of their environment as they want to be. And so one of my favorite artists is Jeff Koons, and he does a lot of reflective pieces. And by exploring his work, I saw the importance of wanting to reflect that in my work. And so I wanted this piece to have a mirror surface. And a lot of people, scoffed at that and said, it should be matte. And I'm like, no, it needs to be mirror, because that adds another layer to the importance of the piece. And it just makes it so that the wearer always knows that they are reflecting their light on everyone that they go by when they wear this piece.
In that explanation, what I love about you is that it's not only about the design, but it's about getting into Malyia's brain and learning her thought process and what she wants people to get out of her pieces. It's not only about the design, but it's about what's behind the design and how you came up with that design intellectually. And I think that's just amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so
much. Great
much.
explanation.
Thank you.
What is one thing about your job and expertise that almost no one agrees with you about?
Oh, that is a phenomenal question. I'm pretty persuasive. I'm like, um, think on this one. I have to dig deep for that one. I don't
Well,
know.
for me, like for an example, for me, people
Mhm.
think like being a jewelry designer is like, you're like a celebrity and you just sit and design and
Ah,
then it just makes itself
ah.
up. It's like, you're a fairy and you're throwing your dust all over, like,
Oh, yes.
poof, it's all like created right there.
Okay, that's a wonderful example, and I will also tag on to that. That's definitely one of the areas I think people don't understand how much effort goes into creating a piece. Sometimes get tapped for projects, and the turnaround is very tight. And I'm like, you all don't understand. It takes months for me to come up with ideas. My design process is unconventional or conventional. If you're an artist, you understand that that's kind of our process, and so you're familiar with this, and so it's not as easy as I go to sleep, wake up, and now I have a brand new collection. It really takes time to be intentional, and sometimes I get a little frustrated with that process because I don't feel like people really understand the effort that it takes for me to come up with one piece, let alone 15 or 20 consecutively. So that's one of the areas I definitely have been working through, even with custom. Someone's like, hey, I have this piece I would love for you to work on. And can you do it in 4 weeks? And it's like, is that including production? Is that including design? Is that including sourcing stones? Is that like, there's so many other factors. And so I have to give them that realistic timeline. And that's definitely one of the areas I would scream from a mountaintop if I could, is that it's not as easy. I make it look easy. And I think that's a part of the process, is to make it look easy, but it really takes a long time to come up with the new ideas.
Well, and I think in our day and age, everything is so instant. You can order something on Amazon and get it tomorrow. So, even though it's a custom design, people seem to think like, oh, she can just whip that up like this,
Right.
and it'll
Right.
come out next week, and I'll have the thing that I need for the event that I'm going to, or for an engagement, or whatever it is. Not realizing, unless you're an artist, the processes that you have to go to in order to create the design, and then you have to figure out, well, how am I going to construct it, and
Right.
where am I getting the materials from, and then sourcing the
Right.
materials and actually making the piece.
Right.
There's so much behind making a piece of jewelry, and I think a lot of times customers are not quite aware of that.
Absolutely, I would agree with that. So help me get the message out there. I want to work with you, but work with me, please. Yeah.
So what's the biggest challenge you're facing right now, in your role, your business, a project, and how are you tackling that issue or problem?
Right now, my biggest issue, which I guess most people would say is a good problem to have, is that I need a clone immediately. And it's a good problem to have. It's something that I've accepted as a challenge that I know I can overcome. It's a part of growing pains. My team is very small, but mighty. We work really, really hard. And some things a lot of things I can delegate, but some things require my attention. And so I've been learning to work on the things that I can control, and then trying to delegate those things off, as well as looking for opportunities to grow the team, looking for opportunities to bring on new team members and bringing them into the fold so that I can grow, because I am in a growth stage in the business. And sometimes I have to turn down projects, which makes me very sad, because I don't have the bandwidth to do it. And that is not ideal for a brand like me. That is, in all the ways you can put self in front of it, that's me. And so I want to make sure that as I continue to grow my brand, that I don't take away opportunities for growth by not having the right people in place. So I've accepted the challenge. I've kind of put it out into the universe, and I'm trusting that the right people will find me and that I'll be able to scale the business in the way that I see for myself in an authentic way. I don't have aspirations to grow really fast and kind of lose the essence of what I've built organically over the years, but there is a part of me that wants to find extensions of how I can get the brand out there in a bigger way.
So Malyia, I'm curious to know if you have decided to outsource some of the issues and bottlenecks that you're having, along with the implementation of the softwares that you've been doing this past year.
Yes, so I have outsourced a lot of the executive tasks that could be, replicated by someone rather easily, which is why I needed to implement those systems so that someone could take that on. And I, work with different contractors for copy. I've worked with consultants to create, lookbooks and things of that nature. So over the next couple of months, I am looking to build a team through part-time, someone who's looking to kind of grow with the brand, be able to, explore the opportunities to grow their own brand if that's what they're looking to do. Because as an entrepreneur, I always seek to work with other people with an entrepreneurial spirit. And so that's, some of the areas that I'm looking to explore ways to kind of grow the brand.
What's something that people would be surprised to know about you?
Two things, I think, that I have a wicked sense of humor. I think that I don't show that enough, but the people who know, I love to make people laugh. And so if I can break up a very serious meeting with a joke, I will, because I like to make the room more comfortable and kind of set the pace for the environments that I like to be in, which are a little bit less formal. So that's one of the things. And then I am an avid kickboxer. That's one of the ways that I de-stress as an entrepreneur. And so I love, going to the kickbox studio in the city. And so those are the two things that I would say people would be surprised to know about me.
Wonderful. What's one question you wish I had asked you, and how would you have answered?
One question I wish that you had asked me is, where would I love to visit next? Where would I love to travel to next? And I would answer by responding and saying South Africa. It's been on my bucket list of places to visit. I have a few friends based there. There's also some mines I want to go visit there. And so that's top of the list of things that I want to do in maybe not this year, next year.
Malyia, I hear that you're going to be attending GIA in May this year. So tell me, what made you decide to dive into going to GIA, and tell me your thought process behind all that.
Absolutely. So I knew that GIA would be the next step in my career as a jeweler, because I've been drawn to precious stones. And so, my introduction into diamonds in 2021, I designed my first emerald piece with Muzo Emeralds and New York City Jewelry Week. I just finished a Tanzanite custom ring. The list is continuing to grow into that space. And so in order to provide my clients and my jewels with an additional level of expertise and information, I know that I want to pursue my GG at GIA in order to provide that level of expertise that they're coming to me for. I'm always drawn to very beautiful stones, and then I find out the price and I'm like, oh, well, I have an eye for quality. So that's great. I have a great starting point with that. So I'm sure when I attend GIA, the stones that I'll be drawn to are the most expensive ones. So I look forward to learning from the staff there, getting my education in that environment. I know will advance my opportunities to grow my custom arm of my business. So I'm just looking forward to all the possibilities. A lot of clients and friends come to me with pieces they want me to look at and authenticate. And with this, certification, I'll be able, and this diploma, I'll be able to provide that information to them without having to take it to another person to verify. So I'm looking forward to all the ways that it will help me grow and expand the brand. And it's really something I'm looking forward to. GIA has been great supporters of me as a designer. And so I'm looking forward to also adding that credential to my wheelhouse.
Well, one of my favorite sayings is learning never ends. And
Right.
the people that I find the most successful in life and their personal and professional life are people who are constantly learning. If you're not constantly learning, what are you doing?
Right.
And so what I love is that you're going back to school. You're going to now learn about stones. You're a jeweler. It completely falls into, fits that like last piece that you don't acknowledge that you don't have right now.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a piece that I know will complete for now that portion of what I'm looking to expand on. So absolutely, I agree with continuing education is so important.
Malyia, thank you for joining us today. I've learned so much about you. You are an inspiration in how you design your jewelry, how you come up with your jewelry, your custom design that you're working on now, and also just truly inspiring that you want to continue to learn and you're going back to GIA to become a graduate gemologist.
Thank you so much for having me. I loved your questions. They really had me thinking. So thank you so much for having me.
That's what I'm here for. Thanks so much.
If you like that video, you're gonna love the next one. It's full of our expertise and tips on diamonds, gemstones, and jewelry, growing your top line revenue, and business strategy. Just click on the link, subscribe, and hit the bell button so that you'll be notified of our next videos, and give us a like. Bye for now.